Parents, families, thank you so much for coming. This is the Math at Home workshop. It's for math, to present to you math strategies. For those of you with students in the primary grades, next week we're going to do a workshop for parents with students in intermediate grades. So if you've got both, we welcome you today, and we also invite you to come next week. My name is Debbie Palacios. I'm a project facilitator with FACES, which stands for Family and Community Engagement Services. We're a new department, a newly formed department with the district, but a lot of us have been working with family engagement for a very long time, and we work a lot with the Title I schools. All Title I schools, over 250 in the district currently, so that is the majority of our schools here in Clark County School District. So what today is going to be just kind of an overview. We'll talk a little bit about math standards and kind of what they look like in the different grades. We'll give you a little bit of a sample for kinder, first, and second grade. We have some resources for you, some things that you can do at home, as well as where to find more information and more activities to reinforce all that learning at home. And finally, there's a small activity that if we have time, we'll do. If not, you can take it home and finish it at home. So we're going to get started anytime throughout the presentation. If you have a question, especially since we're just a small group, by all means, just stop me. Let me know what your question is, because it might be a question that a lot of us have. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Just to get a feel for the audience, how many of you have kindergarten students? Okay, first grade and second grade. Okay, excellent. So we've got a little bit of everything. We'll talk to you, like I said, about everything. A lot of the things, just because we might say that they are one of the first grade standards, all of the standards are going to link together. So even though your student might be in second grade, they might need some reinforcement from the first grade standards, and then you might also be looking at some third grade standards as well too, kind of depending on the student. So we'll get started. We've been talking about standards. Standards have really changed. Within the last couple of years, we've seen standards become increasingly more rigorous and more demanding, and that's really just reflective of the world we live in today. Colleges and businesses are more demanding, so we need to prepare our students to enter higher learning and the workforce in such a way. Nevada has adopted the Common Core state standards. So are you all familiar with the Common Core standards?
No.
Okay, so the Common Core standards are definitely just a change. They're adopted by the majority of the states in the United States. Just a little minor note, the Common Core state standards, our district has decided to rename them. They are called the Nevada Academic Content Standards, but they're the same standards. They just also go by the Nevada Academic Content Standards. So just in case you do see that, it's the same. Common Core, they're interchangeable, Nevada Academic Standards. And so it's really clear and consistent guidelines for math and English language arts as well. And basically what the reason for adopting those Common Core state standards was that if a child here in Nevada in third grade moved out of state and went to school anywhere in the other states that have also adopted the Common Core standards, then they would be learning pretty much the same thing at the same time, so that the pacing would be the same and the standards would be the same. So you can pick up a child from one state, put him in another, and it would be equitable, okay? So there's not as much discrepancy when children are transient. So that was kind of the idea behind it. The Common Core focuses on developing critical thinking. So a lot of it has now changed to more, great, that's your answer, I want to know the reasoning behind it. So we're demanding a lot of students, asking them to tell us why they did what they did, how they solved the problem. So the how and the why have become a lot more important than just the what, than what the answer is. One site that I really recommend, if you go to the corestandards.org, there are links specifically for parents. A lot of this information comes from the link What Parents Should Know. They also have a list of frequently asked questions, and those kind of things. So that's just kind of this is really just a snapshot. But again, what we're really emphasizing is the rigor. So what has really become the important word is rigor, because everything has become increasingly more demanding. We're more demanding of our students because the world is going to be more demanding of them once they exit high school and beyond. So I'll give you just a minute, just in case you're writing that down. Okay. So first, we'd also like to emphasize that you are your child's first math teacher. So yes, they come to school and they learn math here, but you're also your child's first math teacher because you are with them before they come to school, before they are old enough to come to school, and then also, you get to see them every day. So we really want you to be equipped and empowered enough to have the tools to really help them do that. So there are some really easy ways to do that. We really want to just make math part of everyday life. So things as simple as, especially with the little ones, looking for shapes in your environment, sorting clothing, sorting groceries, or matching socks. My kids love to match socks. Looking for labeled and numbered items, again, in the grocery store when you're out looking for, looking at numbers and signs and lots of things like that. Playing matching games, so those memory games that maybe you remember from when you were a child when you have to match pictures. Doing that with math. We're also going to show you a way to do that today, and that's one of the activities that you'll get to take home. Counting things, measuring things, standard measurement and non-standard measurement. A lot of that is done in the kitchen, so having them help you when you cook or things like that, just with the measurement and following directions, are all really ways that we're reinforcing math. I'm sure you're doing a lot of them already, but maybe just having that thoughtful reflection that it is math will just help you increase those type of activities at home. Okay? So along with the Common Core standards, we talked a little bit about how they've really become increasingly more demanding. We're not just asking them to give us an answer, but really to explain their thinking and their reasoning and kind of how they arrived at their answer. One of the ways that teachers will always tell you, if you teach something, it's much easier for you to learn it and to keep it. So what we're doing is making children tiny teachers. Because by them having to explain their thinking, they're going to be able to retain that information a lot longer. So math is not just numbers anymore. When we talk about math, a lot of parents that we've talked to really just think of it as the simple arithmetic. So, numbers and adding and multiplying and all of that, which is of course math. But really now that we're seeing on our standardized tests is a lot more written. So they're doing a lot more reading in the math test than they've ever done before. They're writing out answers, they're explaining their thinking. So that's really a way that we need to practice math at home in the same way. Ways that you can do it: tell stories, drawing out problems. So if you're counting things out or drawing them, grouping, drawing using shapes, count using books, and then finally, watch videos. And I say watch videos. I have a lot of videos here in this presentation that are linked from Vegas PBS. So if your children watch Vegas PBS, they'll watch a lot of these videos on there on Channel 10. But this just shows a really quick example of how math is everywhere and kind of how you can point it out to your child. And we'll just play it. The volume's a little low, but I think it should be okay. So this is in the ice cream shop.
After a hot day at the beach, ice cream is a perfect treat. Look at all the different flavors. But which one to choose? Everybody loves ice cream. This cone has 3 scoops. If each cone had 3 scoops of ice cream, how many scoops would there be in 4 cones?
Okay, so what are some things that the video talked about that you could do with just ice cream? So what are some of the skills that you saw in there? Counting. Grouping, multiplication. Okay, you could also do, it didn't mention it, but you could also do patterns if it's, chocolate, vanilla, chocolate, or what that would be. So just a really simple way where, in everyday example, you're going to find some math skills that you can work on with your child. I'll briefly talk about this. This goes right along with our Common Core. These are the 8 standards for student mathematical practice. So what these standards carry K through 12, okay? So this is basically how teachers are teaching math now. they're basically incorporating these 8 standards throughout every math theme that they do. So whether it be geometry, whether it's fractions or measuring or any of that, all these standards will be part of that. So number 1 is make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. So what we want to do is really just have our students continue to put in that effort and have our children put in the effort so that they're constantly looking for the answer. It's not just a I give up thing, kind of that keep on going, and we can reinforce that at home real easily. Reason abstractly and quantitatively. So sometimes, in the past we've always given the child the problem and asked for the answer. Now what teachers are doing a lot is maybe giving them an equation and then having them write a problem that goes along with it. So kind of the reverse. So in our example, half times 4, okay, he exercises for half an hour for 4 days. How long has he exercised for the week or for those 4 days? So just kind of having them come up with the story problems helps them become a lot more better and at solving them when they encounter them in those standardized tests. Number 3, construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. So again, that goes back to what we said. They have to explain their thinking. If they agree with someone, well, why do you agree? Did you solve it a different way and maybe come up with the same answer? So talking and explaining, having them explain their thoughts. Model with mathematics, again, so that explaining their reasoning, but maybe with a model, with a picture. A lot of times you might be seeing on their homework, 6 plus 5 equals, which is great, but then it might say, show how, or show, how you came to this answer, and maybe they're drawing circles, or maybe they're, counting certain objects, but basically we're having models, so it's not just paper and pencil, we're really manipulating the math. Use appropriate tools strategically, so using the right tools, whether that be in measurement, or any other aspect of math, that the right tool fits the job. Attend to precision, so just knowing, checking our work and especially our units. So 120 minutes equals 2 hours, just keeping in mind the units that we're working with. A lot of times too, if you're answering a word problem and I'm saying, little Johnny worked for 3 hours on Monday and then he worked 2 hours on Tuesday. How many hours did he work in total? It's not enough to just say 5. We really want to know that unit. So 5 what? I always used to tell when I was in the classroom with my first graders, they would say 5. 5 what? I would say 5 elephants? No, that doesn't make any sense. 5 shoes? No. And then 5 hours. Oh, yes. But it's really helping them, keep in mind that unit is really important, because if not, it could be 5 anything. Number 7, look for and make use of structure. So seeing the patterns or connections. We'll see 10 frames a lot. The activity that I have for you today does talk a lot about 10 frames. And we'll see these are basically 10 frame is just exactly what it sounds like, a frame of 10 squares. And each dot represents, a 1. So we're going to use these a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. And then number 8, look for and express regularity and repeated reasoning. So again, just seeing those patterns. And kids are really good at patterns. So this is one that actually comes pretty naturally to them. If you're more interested, these we can go in depth very much in all of these, because again, they carry throughout the grade levels. That is found on that Common Core site that we found at the beginning. So if you need more information or even this graphic, that's all on there. Okay. Another thing that we're just going to talk really briefly about is mathematical vocabulary. Reinforcing mathematical vocabulary is incredibly important because so much of the test, like I said, is now reading and writing. So yes, it's a math test, but they're reading the entire time. They're writing a lot. So we want to make sure that they're using the appropriate vocabulary so that when that question is asked of them, if they know how to do it, it's not that they're going to get it wrong because they don't have the words to express that. So a lot of times, and this is difficult because a lot of times as teachers we give sometimes cutesy names to things, and I know as a parent I do that too. But just kind of trying to remember the appropriate vocabulary so that when they encounter that on a standardized test, they know what it means. So for instance, and you never want to, tell a child, you don't want to discourage them from their thinking. So a lot of the times if they are, if they have the correct thinking, but they just need that vocabulary, we want to reinforce it and then give them the vocabulary. So for instance, in our example, if a child says 5 and 5 together are 10, you can say, yes, you're correct. 5 plus 5 does equal 10. So now they're getting that vocabulary. They're feeling good about themselves because you said yes and you applauded them. But at the same time, you're also giving them that vocabulary. 5 plus 5 does equal 10, okay? So they now know plus and equals, and that's becoming more familiar vocabulary to them, okay? You can always talk to your child's teacher if there's some other mathematical vocabulary that you want to know about, asking for definitions or anything like that if you're unsure. This website is really wonderful. It's a resource for math vocabulary, and it's split up by grade levels. And they just have tons. I brought an example to show you. So what it is they do a couple of different things. So for instance, they, on some, like for the kinder words, they will give you the word as well as a picture. So kids learn so much with pictures, and with so many of our children are visual learners. So they will give you a word and a picture, and these are great to kind of use when you're maybe pull out during homework and see if you've got some of the vocabulary there, or just some different ways. Maybe you put them up somewhere. Maybe there's a couple up on the fridge every week. So different ways like that. If you go to the other grade levels, another nice thing is that they will give you some options. So on some, maybe they have just the word. So maybe if they are already familiar with the other ones, they will have the word and the picture or a diagram to kind of explain the word. And finally, they also have one which is, if you're just starting out, might be a good one. They have the word, the diagram to help you, and then kind of a kid-friendly definition so that you can help explain what exactly it means. Okay? So these are great. Like I said, there's tons, and it goes, and I want to say it even goes into middle school. So if you've got some older kids or know people with older kids, this website is really great. It's just all split up by grade level or PDF files, so you can print them, and then you would just cut them out. They come just like this. So those are some good ones. You may not be using all of them, but it might be nice for you to know what words. And these words all come from those Common Core standards. So that's what they're pulling from the standards. These are the same exact words they're going to see on the test. Okay? So that's good. Okay, so we're just going to talk a little bit about, I just kind of highlighted a standard or a strand for each grade level. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then I'm going to give you some resources as well. Okay? So for instance, for kindergarten, one of the strands, or basically the umbrella where some standards are under, is understand addition and understand subtraction. So as you can see, even in kindergarten, it's not can you add and can you subtract, but it's really this understand piece that's really that higher level thinking. So in kindergarten, we're expecting students to decompose numbers less than or equal to 10 into pairs in more than one way, by using objects or drawings, and record each decomposition by drawing or equation. This is kinder. So as you can see, the rigor has really been stepped up. This is not the kinder I went to. This is much more demanding of our students. And these are, if you can see, this is math content. It's OA.A.3. This one kind of follows in with them. For any number from 1 to 9, find the number that makes 10 when added to the given number by using objects or drawings, and record the answer with a drawing or an equation. So as you can see there, that's another one that kind of goes hand in hand with that one. You're asking the student to really look for those combinations of 10 and to decompose and compose numbers. So again, this is just one that you can practice at home, giving the student a number, and they have to think of what added to it would equal 10. That's one of the activities we have for you today. Becky, will you pass these? Yeah. And if you, let me just grab one. If we have time, you're more than welcome to work on it here. It's like a make and take, but if not, it's really just cutting, and we'll give you all the supplies for it. But if you look here, these are kind of some ways to reinforce this standard. Okay, on the front, what it basically is some flashcards, but they're flashcards in lots of different ways to help you with decomposing numbers. On the front, what you have is a direction sheet, so it's just different ways to use the flashcards in a game, in a sort, lots of different things like that. There's more than this. There's more ways that you can use them, and you can come up with your own. But basically, I'll just go over very quickly the different types of flashcards. So the first ones that you'll see is just the number with that 10 frame that we talked about. Okay, so this is kind of going to this standard. If the child sees that there's 3, how many more would make it to fill up the 10 frame? So you could see there, so it's that visual representation of the number, which for our kinder kiddos, that's kind of where they might be at. After that, you're just going to see the number. So it'll be just the digit, just the numeral. Okay, and one way that you can play with both of those, and this is in your directions, is that you can do a memory game, a matching game. So, you know, you cut them all out, you can put them face down, and they need to find the 9 with the 10 frame would have to match the 9 digit. Okay, so that's one way to play. Again, these are all in your directions. After that, what you have is some, now we're talking about more this, that decomposing the numbers less than or equal to 10. So just the different combinations for each number, 2 plus 0, 1 plus 1, 0 plus 2. So basically knowing that these 3 all equal 2, another way to play that matching game, or sorting them, sorting all the ones that equal 2, sorting all the ones that equal 3, etc. That's another one. And then kind of once they get better with it, so maybe your first graders and your second graders, in the very back you'll have just the simple equation. So by that point maybe they don't need the visual representation anymore, but maybe they could use this. You can flip one over and maybe they have some sort of counter. If you have beans or pasta, anything that you've got lying around, you can flip over a card and the student can pull out 4, whatever it is, beans and 1 bean, and show you that combination, okay? So you can do these, second graders, you could even combine more than one. So really, just a resource for you. We have scissors and baggies. If we do have time, you're more than welcome to come out, but then you can just have a baggie to take home and practice with your kiddos, okay? Any questions on that one? Okay, so as you can see, that's kinder, that's asking a lot of a little 5-year-old, but that's kind of where we're at now, so we want to make sure that we're reinforcing those things at home so that they're going to have an easier time at school as well. First grade, so here again, we're seeing this verb understand, so not just that they can do it, but that they actually have to understand what it means and understand what it represents. So here's some for first grade. Understand that the 2 digits of a 2-digit number represent amounts of 10s and 1s. Understand the following as special cases. 10 can be thought of as a bundle of 10, called a 10. The numbers from 11 to 19 are composed of a 10 and then a certain number of 1s. So 12 is a 10 and 2 1s. 15 is a 10 and 5 1s. So one way to do this, again, with counters, but also what you can do, and I have the link for you a little bit later. Let's see if this is working. Let's see if it'll. But there's a great website. It's just slow. There's a great website called Khan Academy, Khan Academy. And basically what you can do is go in there and find lots of videos. You do have to log in and sign up for an account. It's totally free. But what you can do is really find videos tailored to the individual standards as well as to your child's grade level. You can kind of assign your child videos. You can look for things specific, maybe related to their homework. Or anything like that. I think it might work, it just might be slow. But this was just an example of one with place value, so kind of showing them in a fun way what that is. Let me see.
It was K-H-A-N?
K-H-A-N, yes, and it's up on the one of the following slides. So yeah, if you just want to. We were doing so well with technology. Right? one for second grade, reason with shapes and their attributes. So here is one which is really talking about geometry, but also beginning to talk about fractions. So partition circles and rectangles into 2, 3, or 4 equal shares. Describe the shares using the words halves, thirds, half of a half, a third of. And the easiest way to teach this, if the previous video wasn't working, this one probably won't. I do have the links though, and I know that they're going to be put up on your school website, so those links to those videos will all be there. But basically, the easiest way to teach fractions or to reinforce those concepts about fractions is in the kitchen, we found. So the pizza is always the go-to example for that partition circle. So, half of a circle, half of a pizza, and then if a pizza is cut into 8 slices, those are your eighths, and how many, equal. Just really reinforcing the fact that they are equal, okay? So that the pieces or that the shares are equal. So that's something important. Any questions about the second grade one? So again, this is really just a snapshot, one, because we do have a varied audience. It's a snapshot of a standard for each grade level. But different resources that you can do. Okay, there's that Khan Academy site right here. Okay, so just some simple kind of logistical things that you can do. So to help your child, things as simple as setting up a homework area, some quiet time, maybe a place, even if it is your kitchen table or anything like that, but just giving them that time where things are clear, or maybe there's not, little brothers or little sisters around, or, maybe it's an area in their room or anything like that. The second one, of course, listening to your child, really asking them, what are you learning in math? What are you doing? Tell me a little bit more about that, because that would really help you to guide you where you need to go, to help them the best. Encouraging good study habits, so again, limiting distractions. Being available to help, which this one can be difficult. I know sometimes my son asks me, oh, can we do this? And I'm like halfway through dinner, like, give me a second, So we know that that's a difficult one, especially depending on what's going on at home, but just trying to be available for our kiddos at least a certain amount of time, or a designated amount of time. Again, the routine time, so giving your child that routine time to maybe work on their homework, especially. This one too is interesting because we'd never set a set time. A lot of times, we talk to parents who are like, well, when we come home, they have to do homework right away before they do anything else. And that's great if you have a routine time, but just know that the same time might not work for every child. So there might be those kids that when they get home, they need half an hour to just they've been in school all day, maybe they need half an hour to go run around in the backyard or something, and then they can come and they can focus. So it's going to be different for every child. But as long as you find what works, kind of sticking to that routine, we found to be very helpful. Math resources, again, that Khan Academy is going to be a lot of your videos. And then people always, a lot of people I've heard lately have told me that they didn't know that the homework hotline still existed. So this is still really a great resource, and talking to some of the people that work at Vegas PBS, some of the educators, they really say it's underused. So maybe we're just trying to put that out there, that's still available. That homework helpline, you can still watch it on Channel 10. So they'll do some sample problems, they'll take some callers and do some up on the TV, but also you can get in contact with them through their site. Okay, so that 799-5111, you might see posters around schools or things like that. That's still around, and it's a great resource. Okay, we have another short little video. I'm sorry, we have no clock in here. Okay on time, it's about 4 minutes. Okay, so this is the very last thing. We'll watch that and then we'll be good to go. This is just my contact information. It's on my card in the back. So if you need to get a hold of me, I work primarily with parents in the district. So anything that you need, if you feel like maybe your child's teacher just has so much on their plate, maybe they just can't answer all of your questions, please feel free to call me because I can get the answer for you. I work primarily with parents, or I can contact someone else in my department. One other thing before we watch this, it's a 4-minute video and just gives you some additional ideas. These in the back, like I said, you're welcome to take as many as you want. There is some math stuff, but also some reading and writing suggestions of things that you can do, what the student is doing at school, as well as what you can do at home to reinforce these. They're broken up by semester and by grade level. So this is grade 1, semester 2. We've got the kindergarten and the second grade one available for you too, okay? So we'll just watch this last video. Again, it's an old video. You can tell by it's a little dated. You'll see what they're wearing. But you know, the tips and strategies are still really good, so.
Hi, I'm Daryl Meyer for Wisdom Castle. The Numbers Express program introduced your child to many concepts and skills, including number names, number recognition, numbers as symbols, and counting. To further enhance your child's learning experience, here are some ideas that will help support and expand the mathematical concepts your child just learned. As a parent, it's important to note that all children are different. They have different interests and different learning styles. Some learn best by seeing, some by hearing, others by touching. The following activities were developed to encompass a wide range of children's interests and learning styles. They are ideas that can help you to foster mathematical concepts through everyday activities. For example, when you're picking up toys, ask your child to pick up 2 toys and have him or her count out loud while putting them away. Make a game out of it. Or you can take turns picking up a different number of toys. Then ask questions like, how many toys did you pick up? How many toys do I have? Or, who picked up the most toys? The important thing to remember is that young children learn through their senses. They need math experiences where they can see, touch, and handle and manipulate objects and quantities. There are lots of other activities you can do with your child to have fun while fostering mathematical concepts. For example, baking requires counting and measuring. It's a great time to introduce and encourage many math skills and concepts. It's also a perfect time to increase your child's math vocabulary by using words such as more, less, part, weighing, and measuring. You can also reinforce math concepts when you read to your child. As you're reading a book, magazine, or newspaper, show pictures and have your child find and count different things in the picture. You can help develop concepts and words like shorter, taller, bigger, smaller, lots of, many, biggest, and smallest. Here's another fun activity your child will get excited about. Use a calendar to circle special events, such as birthdays and holidays. Then each day, call the event to your child's attention. Mark each day off. You can talk about how many days in the week, the names of the days, and how many days have passed, and how many days are left until the event. Try this activity to help support your child's skills in counting. Here's what you'll need: a package of macaroni, string, scissors, crayons. Using the crayons, help your child color the macaroni. Then, have your child string different numbers of macaroni on the string to make a bracelet or a necklace. You can vary the directions to string different colors, different patterns. For example, use 3 red and 2 green, or 2 blue, 2 red, and 2 purple. Using directions in this manner will help develop not only the counting skills, but introduce the mathematical concepts of patterns, classifying, and matching. This video program is designed to provide an
I'm gonna
introduction
just
to a variety
stop
of
it.
skills. However, your child will gain the greatest benefit through the continued practice and use of these skills. Activities that encourage your child to utilize all of their senses is the best way to help them learn.
Okay. So again, these were for the older kids, they might seem a little simplistic, but you can always ramp up the activities. So if you're counting, for the very little ones, maybe you're just doing counting for as they get a little older, you're counting by 2s, maybe you're counting by 5s when you're picking up toys. Maybe you're saying, okay, give me, can you pick up, 6 plus 7 toys? So now they're doing a little bit more high order thinking. So, as they practice, it can get a little bit more difficult, and as your children get a little bit older and more familiar with the concepts, then, simple things can always be taken a little bit further if you just kind of have established those simple routines at first. So that's pretty much the end of the video. Again, my contact information is here and on the cards. If you wouldn't mind filling out a really quick evaluation for us, that just helps us to know kind of how we did, what feedback you can give us. If you have interest in any other topics that we can come and present to your school, or to different in different subject areas, or anything else that you need, just let us know. And then, and I'm sorry, I didn't introduce Becky. Becky is another one of the facilitators in our department. She's just helping me out today. We can also bring these presentations we have translation services, so if that's a problem for some parents that maybe they need that, we try to provide that as well, so it's accessible to as many families as possible. But we thank you very much for your time and for coming out today. And again, anything that we can do. One other thing that I forgot to give you, which is just something that you can find a lot of games for, especially on that Khan Academy site, is just, I'm gonna give you a 120 chart. Before we always said that kids had to count to 100. That was the first big standard that we wanted them to hit when they were in kindergarten, and now we're ramping it up to 120. So you can just kind of see how it's really evolved. We're really demanding more of our kids. So I'm gonna grab thanks. And I think your bell's about to ring, right? In like a second. So thank you guys again for coming, and again, anything that we can provide for you, just let us know, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Sorry, I
I will
can't
just take class.
Oh, that's okay. We're finished.
Can we